Are you collecting all 7 royalties that your song is earning? Did you even know that there's 7 different royalties that your song actually earns? Well, most artists upload their song to the distributor, they sit back and wait for those streams to come in, and when they get that check from the distributor, they complain because they haven't made any real money from those streams. However, streaming is just one of 7 different royalties that your song earns. In order to collect all 7 of your royalties, you need to understand what each royalty is, when you get paid, and how you collect each royalty. Now, if you're only collecting your streaming royalties, meaning the only money that you're getting paid is from that distributor, that means that you have money that is owed to you, and it's just sitting there waiting for you to tell them where to send your money. I'm going to break down the 7 different royalties along with when, where, and how each royalty is collected. To better understand how and why each royalty is paid out, you have to first understand that a song is considered intellectual property. Think of it like an invention. The person that created that invention is considered the copyright owner. And the same holds true with music. The people that created the song are considered the copyright owners. The government has laws in place to protect your invention or creation. They call those laws copyright laws. And unlike any product that's out there on the marketplace, a song has 2 different copyrights, and each copyright generates different royalty streams. First, you have the composition copyright, which is better known as the publishing side. Now, the composition side or the publishing side refers to the words in the music. And the people who get paid from the composition side are the songwriters that created the words in the music. Or if those songwriters have a music publisher, that publishing company would collect and pay out those royalties for those songwriters. Now, the royalties that are paid out to the songwriters are the performance royalties, the mechanical royalties, the synchronization or sync royalties, and the print royalties. Now, the other copyright in the song is called the sound recording copyright. And this is the one that everyone calls the master. Now, the people that earn money from the sound recording or the master are either the record label or the artist if the artist is independent. The royalties that are paid out to the owner of the sound recording or the master are the streaming royalties, your digital performance royalties, your synchronization or sync royalties, and your neighboring rights royalties. So the composition and the sound recording are the 2 copyrights in every single song. The composition copyright, which is the publishing side, protects the underlying song, which are the lyrics or words and the music. And that copyright is owned and controlled by the songwriters that created or wrote the words and the music. The sound recording copyright, or the master side of things, protects the actual recording of the song, and that's owned and controlled by the label or the independent artist. Now that you understand the difference between the 2 copyrights that every song has, here are the 7 different royalties that a song generates. First, the most common royalty that most of you are familiar with, and that's the streaming royalty. Anytime your song is streamed on platforms such as your Spotify, Apple, Amazon, etc., the person that owns that master is paid a streaming royalty that ranges from 0.003 to 0.008 cents a stream. Now, those streaming platforms such as your Apple or your Spotify do not pay the artist directly. Instead, they pay the royalty to a distributor such as your CD Baby, DistroKid, or TuneCore. So the person that uploaded that song to that distributor is the person that collects the streaming royalty for that song, which is usually the record label or an independent artist. There's also a mechanical royalty. Anytime the song is reproduced in some form, such as vinyl, CD, download on iTunes, or if the song is streamed on on-demand platforms such as Spotify or Apple Music, the song generates what's called a mechanical royalty. And the mechanical royalties are paid out to the songwriters and the publishers. Now, these mechanical royalties have been around for a very, very long time, starting out in the early 1900s when player pianos first became popular. The player piano is a self-playing piano that uses a paper roll with punched holes in it to simulate a pianist. When the roll is fed through the piano, the holes activate a pneumatic system that presses down the corresponding piano keys, causing the hammer to strike the strings, and then it produces a sound or notes. So the copyright law had to address this new piano player technology where a machine was mechanically playing the songwriter's work through a scroll of music. Therefore, a law was created that would require these companies to pay a royalty to the songwriters for each copy of composition made by this mechanical device, thus the word mechanical royalty. In order for a songwriter to collect their mechanical royalties, they have to register with the Mechanical Licensing Collective, or the MLC.com. Now, this company collects the mechanical royalties from these platforms, and then they pay out the songwriters or their publishers. So go register today. There's probably money sitting there waiting for you to collect it. You also have a performance royalty. Anytime a song is performed publicly, such as a nightclub, bar, or restaurant, or on the radio, or on TV, or at live performances, the songwriters are paid out a performance royalty. Now, in order to collect your performance royalty, you have to be registered with the performing rights organization such as ASCAP or BMI in the United States. Now, if you're not in the United States, find out who your performing rights organization is for your country and register with them. When you register your song with the performing rights organization, you're required to list each songwriter and the percentage that each songwriter contributed to that song. song. And the way you figure out the percentage is by completing what's known as a songwriter split sheet that identifies each songwriter and the appropriate percentage that they contributed to that song. The easiest way to figure out what everyone's percentage is, assume that a song is equal to 100%. So the person that wrote or created the music would be entitled to 50%, and the person that created or wrote the words would be entitled to the other 50%. The songwriter split sheet is something that you should have filled out every single time you complete a song in the studio. Have each songwriter sign their name with their appropriate percentage next to their name. It'll eliminate any headaches in the future. Once you have the songwriters and the percentage they contributed to that song, go register that song with your performing rights organization. So now, anytime your song is performed publicly, the performing rights organization will collect that money earned from the song being played on the radio, TV show, nightclub, bar, live performance, etc. Then they'll pay out each songwriter their appropriate songwriter share based on the percentage that you provided to them. So each songwriter that was involved with creating or writing that song will collect their appropriate percentage from their very own performing rights organization. You also have digital performance royalties. Digital performance royalties are paid out anytime a song is streamed on non-interactive digital streaming platforms such as your Pandora, satellite radio, SiriusXM, iHeart, etc., and the digital cable music channels. Digital performance royalties are different than public performance royalties because they're paid out from the sound recording side of things or the master side of the copyright. The way it works is the owner of the master, which is usually the label of the artist, would get 50% of the digital performance royalties. 45% would go to the main artist, the other 5% would go to the non-featured artist such as a backup vocalist, or sometimes it would even go to a producer of that song. These digital performance royalties are paid out to the recording artists and the owners of the masters, and in order to collect these royalties, you have to be registered with Sound Exchange. To be clear, songwriters and publishers do not get paid for digital performance royalties, only performers get paid for digital performance royalties. You also have synchronization or sync royalties. When your song is used in a video game, TV show, movie, or commercial, both the owners of the master and owners of the composition are paid an upfront flat fee, which is referred to as a synchronization or a sync fee. Now, this is a one-time upfront fee. However, when the movie, video game, or commercial streams or is aired on TV, the songwriters do get paid their public performance royalties, and you collect these royalties just like you'd collect all of your other performance royalties with your performing rights organization such as ASCAP or BMI. You have your neighboring rights royalties. These are the royalties that are paid for the public performances of the sound recordings. This is the actual master recordings and not the songwriting. For example, when a song plays on the radio, TV, or nightclub or performed live outside of the United States, performers and master owners get paid through neighboring rights. These are royalties that are paid out for the public performance of the actual sound recordings. Remember, the master recordings, not the songwriting. For example, when a song plays on the radio, TV show, nightclub, or performed live outside of the United States, the performers on the song and the owners of the masters get paid through neighboring rights. So these neighboring rights royalties apply to the sound recording or the master side of the copyright and not the composition or publishing side of the copyright. This is the same thing as the digital performance royalty that's collected in the United States and paid out by Sound Exchange. However, outside of the United States, it's called neighboring rights royalties. In order to collect your neighboring rights royalty, you need to have a publishing administrator such as Cobalt or Songtrust that has deals in place with performing rights organizations all around the world to collect that money. Finally, print royalties. When your song sheet music is printed or sold physically or digitally, songwriters are owed a print royalty. Print royalties are often overlooked, but they can be an additional royalty or revenue stream for songwriters. You can upload your own sheet music directly to platforms like Sheet Music Plus or MusicNote.com. They allow you to set up your own price, and you get paid a percentage each time your song is downloaded or printed, which usually ranges from 10 to 20%. So now that you know the 7 different royalties that your song earns, now you have to go register to collect your money. These companies will only hold your royalties for a period of 3 years. After 3 years, they keep your royalties. So don't wait, go register today. Have a great day.